आप सबका इस विशेष कार्यक्रम में स्वागत है। और स्वागत है ब्रिज जी का, जिन्होंने कई हफ्ते हो गए हमें इतना ज्ञान दे दिया है कि हम लगभग ज्ञान में नहाए जा रहे हैं। और बहुत सारे जीवन में हमें चेंजेस करने को मिले हैं, और जो बड़े आसानी से वो चेंजेस हो गए हैं इनके हिसाब से। तो मुझे लगता है कि आगे और चल के और हमारा जीवन जो है वो खुशनुमा और प्रोग्रेसिव हो जाएगा। तो मैं निवेदन करूंगा ब्रिज जी से कि आज जो उन्होंने संदेश दिया था कि 8वें अध्याय के बारे में बातचीत करेंगे, तो वो कृपया हमें अपना जो भी इन्होंने आज सोच रखा है वो हमें हमारे साथ शेयर कर लें, साझा कर लें। ओवर टू ब्रिज जी। ब्रिज जी
धन्यवाद जी सभी का।
प्लीज।
आप सभी का स्वागत है आज के सेशन में।
ओवर
लास्ट
टू ब्रिज जी।
हाँ जी, तो लास्ट टाइम इन द लास्ट सेशन वी हैड स्टार्टेड चैप्टर 8 and in that session we completed up to shlok 16. This chapter name is Akshar Brahm Yog. Akshar Brahm जो है, the meaning is Avinashi Brahm, the Brahm who is indestructible, who is Sanatan, Shashvat, always there. So just to brief about these 16 shlokas, what we discussed last time. In this chapter, in the beginning, Lord Krishna had described 6 important terms which Arjuna asked him. And those 6 terms were Brahm, Adhyatam, Adhidev, Purush, and Karam Adi. इन सब का एक ही मीनिंग था कि ये भगवान के अलग अलग जो उनके स्थान है, द डिफरेंट डिफरेंट प्लेसेस और डिफरेंट डिफरेंट नेम्स, हाउ वेयर ही इज प्रेजेंट. Then there was one more question from Arjun, that how we can remember God at our last moment. So that once, because he had said that if you remember God, if you remember me at the last moment, you will gain my Paramdham. So Arjuna had asked these questions, which Lord Krishna replied to him or in detail about these in the first few verses. उसके बाद जो है कि उन्होंने बोला कि भगवान को इन वेदास बेसिकली भगवान को कई नामों से, डिफरेंट डिफरेंट नेम्स इट हैज बीन टोल्ड. ही हैज बीन कॉल्ड एज ब्रह्म, एज भगवान, एज परमात्मा, ईश्वर, महेश्वर. So they are all one. It's all different different names of one God basically. And the Bhagavan, the Brahm, they are all Nirgun and Nirakar. Nirakar means which has no form, and Nirgun means which have no attributes, no qualities, which cannot be explained by our body, mind, and senses what qualities it has. So, or then he, also told about that how to meditate upon God. Now, how to meditate upon God when you say Bhagavan is Nirakar and Nirgun? How you can meditate upon a person or upon somebody whom you do not know, who you do not remember, see his form or something. So then he told about 8 attributes of God. In those attributes, you can focus your mind on any one of those attributes. And then he told that you should also meditate, chant Om when meditating. Om is also represents Brahm, also represents Paramatma. And all mantras of Vedas start with the word Om. So that's the message what he gave in the first chapters. And then he also said, because it is very, very difficult to focus your mind or to meditate upon somebody whom you cannot see. So that's why for a non-general person, it is very, very difficult to focus your mind on that. So then he said it is then easier to focus your mind to remember on a Sagun Sakar Bhagwan. Bhagwan jo hai, he is Nirakar as well as Sakar. Sakar Sagun means that he is in a human form. He takes, as said in chapter 4, that Bhagwan takes birth in human form. He incarnates. So you can remember God, you can do bhakti of God. Or bhakti jo hai, वो भक्ति आप किसी साकार रूप की ही कर सकते हैं. यू कैन डू भक्ति ओनली ऑन ए person whom you see. So that's the easiest path. Basically, that's what he has described. So he emphasized on Bhakti Yoga, and those who indulge in this Bhakti of Sakar Bhagavan in any human form, you can remember God in the form of Shri Rama or Shri Krishna or Bhagavan Vishnu, Mahadev. In any of these forms, any of his forms, you can concentrate upon him, you can remember him, you can do his Bhakti. And that is the same thing. You ultimately will reach the same goal. So that's what he had described in the first 16 verses. And now there are 13 more verses in this chapter. And from the verse 16 onwards, the topic is little different. There is a lot of information, lot of knowledge being provided by Lord Krishna. And it will be very, very difficult for us to imagine that or understand that in one session. But I would just advise that please listen carefully, and you have to think over it again or read it again. There is a lot of information which I will also give from, which are not mentioned in Gita itself, but I will just give a background from Vedas, how whatever shloka is there, what is it based on. So the first verse is that Bhagavan says in verse 16 that whatever worlds are present in this universe up to Brahmalok, all these worlds, they are basically are changeable, are destructible, they are subject to change, and the people living in these worlds are subject to rebirth. So that's the term what he has used here is all the worlds in this universe up to Brahmalok. So this information which I'm now going to give you is not in Gita, but this is the background what is given in Vedas. Basically जो है कि हमारे इस ब्रह्मांड में, हमारे इस यूनिवर्स के अंदर बहुत वर्ल्ड है, बहुत संसार है. जैसे हमारा एक संसार है जिसमें हम रहते हैं, तो इस तरह से इस यूनिवर्स के अंदर, इस ब्रह्मांड के अंदर अनेक वर्ल्ड हैं. तो जो वेदों में कहा गया है कि अरे जो पृथ्वी है, ये जो अर्थ है, इस अर्थ को मिलाकर इसके ऊपर देयर आर 7 लोकास. हमारी पृथ्वी इज फर्स्ट, उसके ऊपर जो है कि 7 जो है कि लोकास हैं, और वो लोकास हैं. आई विल जस्ट गिव यू ए ब्रीफ. द फर्स्ट लोक अबव अर्थ is called Pitarlok, where the ancestors live. Then second is Swarglok, where 33 देवतास. Now हमारे वेदास में 33 कोटि देवतास लिखा गया है, और 33 कोटिस का some people make a misrepresentation or misreference के 33 crores. कोटि means in Sanskrit is not crores, it is 33 types of devtas. So those 33 devtas live in Swarglok. Third is the Mahalok, where Saptrishi live. Then fourth is called Janaklok. जिस जनक लोक में वहाँ विराज नामक जो देवगण है वो रहते हैं, they live over there. Fifth is a Taplok, where Sankadi Rishi live. You must have seen the Sankadi Rishi where थे. And sixth, जो पृथ्वी के ऊपर sixth, that becomes the 7th loka, is called the Brahmaloka. So these 7 lokas are above the earth, including earth. And there are 7 lokas below the earth. वो भी पताल, जो उसमें भी कई नाम है, अतल, वितल, सुतल, तलातल, महातल, रसातल और पताल. So like that, and there are, I mean, of course, as described, there are living beings. We don't know whether it's in the form of human beings or what form, but they are all basically habitated places. And whosoever live in these worlds, they are all subject to rebirth. They are all not permanent. They also have their life, their time limit, and once the time limit is over, they also perish. So, and after Brahmalok, there is only one परम धाम जिसे बोला जाता है, that is called भगवान का परम धाम. That is when all these lokas get destroyed. But भगवान का जो परम धाम है, that still remains. So when Bhagavan has said, when you do bhakti and you recognize him, you go to my Paramdham. That Paramdham, he is talking about that, because from that Paramdham, there is no return to this world. So this is what he has described in verse 16, that all the worlds in this up to Brahmlok are subject to rebirth. Now, from Slok 17, Bhagavan Krishna gives an idea of the cycle of this creation. We say that this creation basically is for a limited period of time, and that limited period of time is beyond our imagination, in fact. So what he says now in verse 17 is that Brahma का जो एक दिन है, Brahma also has a life. When we say Brahmlok also is destroyed or limited to time, तो ब्रह्मा का जो एक दिन है, ब्रह्मा का एक दिन एक महायुग जो है उसके 1000 महायुग के बराबर है. तो 1 day of Brahma is equivalent to 1 महायुगा, and 1 night of Brahma is also 1000 महायुगास. So तो हमारे जो 24 hours हैं basically, एक दिन और एक रात, that is 2000 महायुगास as per this thing, and 1000 Mahayuga is called 1 Kalp. So these are the basic. Now, what is the duration or what is the avadhi of this Mahayuga? We say 1 Mahayuga consists of Satyug, Tretayug, Dwapar and Kalyug. Now, if you see the period of these each yuga, it's Kalyug is basically the shortest. It says it's about 432,000 years. Then Dwapar Yuga is double of that. Treta Yuga is triple of that. And Satyug is 4 times of that. So 1 Mahayuga basically is equivalent to 4.32 million years of our solar system. So that is 1 Mahayuga. And then the Brahma's life is 100 years. So you can imagine what is the lifespan of Brahma, which you have been difficult to imagine, or sometimes we will say, oh, it is not possible. How it is possible? So if you see that, so this is how he lives for 100 years, meaning 36,000 years of solar system. So this also very difficult to understand that. And that's why we say this जो ज्ञान है हमारा, जो सनातन ज्ञान है, ये it's very a big secret. It's very रहस्य का विषय है. It's very difficult to assimilate this and understand this. Then in verse 18, भगवान says, जब ब्रह्मा जी का दिन होता है, when Brahma ji wakes up from sleep, when his day starts, then the whole world, the whole manifestation, they get manifested, which were in unmanifested form. The bodies, they appear, and this whole world, this संसार जिसे हम बोलते हैं, पृथ्वी जो है, वो हमारा जो है कि सबके सब अपने इसमें आ जाते हैं. So they emanate from the body of Brahma. When the Brahma wakes up, when the day starts, all these bodies which were in Brahma's in an unmanifested form, they emanate from him. And when Brahmaji goes to sleep, so you can imagine that after 1000 Mahayugas, the whole creation merges in Brahma's body in an unmanifested form. And when he wakes up again, the same same beings who were there before, because when the human body dies or any living being dies, his gross body dies, but his subtle body and the causal body, Suksham Sharir and Karan Sharir, they merge in Brahma's body. So they remain unmanifest in that body. And when he wakes up, those unmanifested forms become manifest again. So this is what has been described in verse 18. और इसी को अभी जो है कि और जब ये ब्रह्मा की जो रात्रि होती है, बेसिकली इट्स लाइक ए प्रलय. यू मस्ट हैव हर्ड कि प्रलय आएगी, पूरी सृष्टि खत्म हो जाएगी. सो दिस इज द डेफिनेशन ऑफ प्रलय, दैट द होल क्रिएशन इट मर्जेस इनटू ब्रह्मा's बॉडी, दैट इज प्रलय. उसके बाद एक महाप्रलय होती है, वो मैं उसके बाद में बताऊंगा आपको. सो दिस बेसिकली दिस इज हाउ के जो द होल क्रिएशन, this is the cycle of creation, how it emanates, how it dissolves, like that. So this is the duration of this cycle of creation, which you can just imagine how many billion years it is. In fact, even in Shrimad Bhagavad, if you see Shrimad Bhagavad में क्या है कि Shukdev is giving advice or giving preaches to Parikshit, and he says that जैसे दिन में एक बच्चा होता है, the child, he makes a lot of toys from different materials, blocks from the clay and everything. So during the day, he makes different toys from clay and all this. And when he still sleeps, he just destroys them. So in the same way, he has given a comparison that in the same way, when Brahma's day starts, this world appears. And when Brahma sleeps, the whole world disappears. So this has been explained in Shrimad Bhagavad like this. And when this Brahma's night, what happens? All these sun, moon, star, planets, everything goes away. And when they appear again, when Brahma wakes up. So ऐसे ही the same chronology we can see in our life also. When we go to sleep, during that period of sleep, the world does not exist for us. This means the whole world dissolves into your sleep. And when you wake up, the whole world appears again. In fact, world had not gone anywhere. But when you were asleep, for you, the world had disappeared from your sight. And when you wake up, the same world, whatever you know, it appears in front of your eyes. So this is a method of describing how it has been described in Bhagavad Gita, in Vedas, in Puran, etc., in a lot of our scriptures. This is how this creation gets manifested and gets dissolved in Brahma's body till the life of Brahma. Then, jitne bhi, what now in verse 19, what he says is, the entire universe and all the gross and subtle bodies living in this world, they merge into Brahma's subtle body. When Brahmaji goes to sleep, and when he wakes up, the entire creation comes up again. तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं है कि एक न्यू क्रिएशन क्रिएट होती है. So you can think of, oh, this means the new creation is created when Brahmaji wakes up. No, this is not correct. When says the same जो living beings हैं, infinite number of living beings who were there, they are born again according to their accumulated karmas, their deeds, which were in the unmanifested form in their causal bodies. So the same living beings, they appear again. No new creation. It is the same creation which is being dissolved and which is appearing again. This is what has been explained in verse 19. So, and same thing as I explained, when we go to sleep, the world is not there. When we wake up, the same world which was there last day, it appears again before you. In the same way, when Brahmaji sleeps, that world dissolves, and when he wakes up, the same world, according to the deeds of the beings which were there before, appear again. So that is the basic principle what has been described. So the duration of this cycle of creation and dissolution, if you calculate based on the number of years of each yuga, it comes to 8.64 billion human years. So it is even difficult to imagine for any one of us when somebody says 8.64 billion human years. And this is all recorded in our Granth, in our Shastras, in our Vedas. It's all given the calculations. And Brahma's lifespan, as I said, is 100 years. When the lifespan of 100 years of Brahma's years, basically, that is over the entire universe, including Brahmalok. At that time, it disappears. And that is called Mahapralaya. So, उसमें क्या होता है कि when Brahma ji dies, Mahapralaya takes place, the whole creation goes into again unmanifested form of Mahavishnu body. They call it one is Vishnu. Every universe has Brahma, Vishnu, Mahesh. Mahavishnu is the one who remains, basically. So at that time, when Mahapralaya takes place, the whole creation goes into Mahavishnu body. So this one cycle, in that case, the 100 years of Brahma's life, that is Mahapralaya ka jo cycle hai, that is for 311 trillion and 40 billion human years. So this is the duration of this cycle of creation. You can imagine how, I mean, it is, we can't say it is infinite because it is measured, it is described. So what happens when Brahma's life is over? On completion of Brahma's 100 years of life, what happens? The gross and subtle bodies of all living beings in this universe are destroyed. But only the causal body remains. We know that our bodies consist of three bodies. The gross body, which we can see outside, subtle body, which is inside our mind, intellect, and our senses and all that, that's subtle body. And then there's a causal body, because of which you are born into this world as human being or as any, whatever form you can take. So when Mahapralaya takes place, when Brahmaji lifespan is over, that time your gross as well as subtle body, they are destroyed. But the causal body means your soul. The causal body consists of soul plus your hidden desires, your hidden, I would say, not only desires or whatever pap or punya karma you have accumulated in that they remain in your causal body. So that remains, and that is goes to the stomach of Mahavishnu, as I said. So all these bodies, their causal body remain in that Mahavishnu stomach. And also basically, अगर आप पढ़ें पुराणों के अंदर, इसका प्रलय का एंड महाप्रलय का डिस्क्रिप्शन दिया हुआ है. I will not go into detail of this, although it is there. तो प्रलय है, उसके बाद एक नित्य प्रलय है. नित्य प्रलय we say that what we face every day. तो ऐसे ही एक नैमित्तिक प्रलय है, एक जो है अत्यांतिक प्रलय है, और एक महाप्रलय है. These descriptions have been given in our Puran. But so this is how basically they call it, that in Vedas it's also described that similar to our universe, there are infinite universes of different sizes and different characteristics. All these universes have their own Brahma, Vishnu, and Mahesh. So, and this entire creation is generated from Mahavishnu, that is called Paramatma, and on dissolution, they dissolve back to him. So you can see how much information our Vedas have given, and our modern science, still they are struggling to find out how big is the universe. They have found one Akash Ganga, one Milky Way, and there are so many galaxies, millions of galaxies living in this Akash Ganga, and that research is still going on. But our ancestors, our Rishi Munis, they had done so much of research even already. So that is just an indication of that how our system, our astrological system, or our this study of cosmology, how advanced it was at that time. Now, if I move further, let us go to, in verse 20, Bhagavan says that beyond these manifested and unmanifested states like Brahmalok, etc., there is another unmanifested abode which is eternal and everlasting, which does not get destroyed even during Mahapralaya, and that is my Paramdham, that is my ultimate abode. So that is never destroyed, and that is called the supreme abode of Paramatma. We have already discussed that where is it and how we can reach that we can see. So this is what is described in verse 20. Then in verse 21, again the Lord says that my supreme abode means it is avyakt and avinashi. Again, avyakt means it cannot be manifested, it cannot be seen. It is avinashi, it is indestructible. All the divine souls reside after being released from the bondage of this world. When you get released from the bondage of the world, so people who get moksha, that time they reside in that ultimate abode. Till that time, they are falling into the cycle of birth and death. In Kathopanishad also, it is described that ultimate abode has been described, and once you reach over there, you never return to this materialistic world. So, and उसमें ये भी कहा गया है कि जो अल्टीमेट अबॉर्ड है उसको नाम दिया गया है चिंतामणि धाम, उसको चिंतामणि धाम भी बोला गया है. So now as we now see that previously Lord Krishna had described भगवान in many forms, निर्गुण, निराकार, फिर साकार भी उसकी डेफिनेशन दी गई है. ब्रह्म, भगवान, परमात्मा, ईश्वर, महेश्वर, आप कुछ भी उसको जो है कि नाम दीजिए. तो दे ऑल बेसिकली जितने भी देवता हैं, जितने भी इवन है, दे ऑल हैव टू रिटर्न टू दिस वर्ल्ड वंस देयर लाइफ स्पैन इज ओवर. इवन जो देवता की जो लाइफ स्पैन है, इंद्र की भी लाइफ स्पैन है, वो भी डिस्क्राइब की गई है वेदास के अंदर. उनका भी जो एक ईयर कितने का कंसिस्ट करता है वो भी डिस्क्राइब किया गया है. एंड वेरी क्लियरली दे हैव डिस्क्राइब्ड उसकी लाइफ इतनी है, उसकी लाइफ इतनी है. एंड देन अगेन व्हेन दे डाई सम अदर इंद्र देवता takes his place. So like that, this is all described in Vedas. So now we move to verse 22. So he further explains, Lord Krishna, that Paramatma, who is we call Mahavishnu, Paramatma, who is omnipresent everywhere, he is the all-powerful, and there is nobody beyond him. He dwells within all of us, in their hearts. He pervades the entire universe, and he can be truly attained only by Ananya Bhakti, exclusive devotion. Ananya का मतलब है कोई दूसरा नहीं, exclusive. You have to be devotee exclusively of Bhagwan, no other than Bhagwan. So that is called Ananya Bhakti. And that Bhakti भी कैसी हो? नित्य युक्ता Bhakti. That Bhakti has to be always there. So whatever, and one more thing, हम सब सोचते हैं कि हमने अगर ज्ञान प्राप्त कर लिया तो हमें मोक्ष मिल जाएगा. ऐसा नहीं है. Whatever knowledge you gain, whatever tapasya you do, whatever rituals you do, you cannot get that moksha without bhakti, without devotion. Only with devotion or bhakti of God, one can attain liberation from this world. So he has again emphasized upon bhakti, upon devotion of Bhagwan, one Bhagwan which is present everywhere, Nirakar. You can do bhakti of only a Sakar Bhagwan, any Bhagwan who you believe in human form. So bhakti सिर्फ उसी की हो सकती है. Once you reach that level, then you will get basically led to a Nirakar Bhakti. So there is a step involved basically. So रामचरितमानस में भी बहुत भक्ति के ऊपर, even in रामचरितमानस, बहुत चौपाइयाँ लिखी हुई हैं. There are many these called चौपाइयाँ in रामायण also. उनमें से एक है, मैं आपको पढ़ के सुनाता हूँ उसको. मिले ही नए रघुपति बिन अनुरागा, किए जोग तप ज्ञान विरागा. तो वही तुलसीदास जी ने भी कहा है कि चाहे कोई योग का अभ्यास कर ले, तपस्या कर ले, ज्ञान अर्जित कर ले, या फिर विरक्ति भाव पैदा कर ले, परंतु जो भक्ति के बिना आपको भगवान की प्राप्ति नहीं हो सकती। तो रामचरितमानस तो टोटल जो एक है वो होल थिंग इज बेस्ड ऑन भक्ति ओनली। तो एक भक्ति की जो है वो बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंस है। और आगे भी भगवान ही विल कंटिन्यू एक्सप्लेनिंग अबाउट डिवोशन, अबाउट भक्ति योगा इन नेक्स्ट चैप्टर्स आल्सो। तो ये सब एक्सप्लेन करने के बाद अभी नाउ अगेन टॉपिक इज लिटिल चेंजिंग अगेन। नाउ इन नेक्स्ट verses from 23 to 26, Lord Krishna describes about two paths. There are two paths by which one he can take only one path after death. When somebody dies, how the soul travels, which path soul travels. So Lord Krishna describes here two paths, and first he says in the verse 23 that he says that I will tell you now these two paths, and one of these paths, if one travels after death by this path, he does not return to this earth. He gets liberated. He goes to my Paramdham. And second path is that if you travel via this path after death, you return back to this earth. So he tells Arjuna that these two paths I will describe to you now. So from verse 24 onwards, in verse 24, he described the first path, which is called the path of light, Prakashmay Marg. And that path is a Shukla Paksh path. When the moon, the bright half of the moon, it is also called a Devyan path, because in this path all the Devloks are situated. Like I said, there are so many lokas above the earth, and when we say so many devtas lokas are there, the Agni Devi is there, sun, moon, etc. They all reside in these lokas. So the soul of a Brahmajnani yogi, and this path is taken only by a yogi who has attained Brahmajnan, who are enlightened, and who has realized Brahma. They take this path, and once they take this path, they reach the Paramdham and never return again. So this path, I mean, nobody can select this path. This path is for a Brahmajnani yogi, because when somebody attains Brahmajnan, and that's why you must have heard that so and so, जो संत हैं वो समाधि में बैठ जाते हैं. They sit in their samadhi and then remain in samadhi. They try to choose a period of time during these 6 months. When we say, when the sun is basically the first path, as I said, this Shukla Paksh path, when moon, this thing, and sun जो है वो उत्तरायण में होता है, when sun travels northwards. The 6 months period when sun travels northward. So when they go in samadhi, they wait for this period to start, and then they leave their body, because that makes sure that they will reach the Paramdham. अब तो this is basically जो है कि एक नॉर्मल आदमी, कोई भी अगर योगी जिसको ब्रह्म ज्ञान नहीं हुआ है, वो भी इस पाथ को चुन नहीं सकता. That does not mean that even if he dies during this period, he will reach over to the Paramdham. It is just basically our Adi Shankaracharya, he has given a commentary on this verse. In fact, if you see in Gita also, it is said that moksha is here in this world. While you are living in this world, moksha is here. So you become a Jivan Mukt while living in this world. And when a Jivan Mukt dies, then he goes to Paramdham. He never returns back. So how this path? So Shankaracharya has basically given a commentary that there are those yogis who have reached a very advanced stage, but they have got the self-realization, but still they could not get Brahmajnan. So those yogis, if they take this path, if they die during this period, they go to Brahmalok. And in Brahmalok, they get this Gyan, the real Gyan. And once they attain that Gyan in Brahmalok, then they reach abode. They don't come back. But the real Brahmajnan, then they get in Brahmalok. This is how Adi Shankaracharya has described this verse in his commentary. Now, in next verse 25, Bhagavan describes the second path, which is the path of darkness. And this, if somebody, if a yogi takes this path, he has to return to this earth again. So this path is for those yogis who do various rituals, like to meet their desires, to meet their, get some materialistic benefits. They do all these rituals described in Vedas. अपना जिसे हम कर्म कांड बोलते हैं, यज्ञ करते हैं, तपस्या करते हैं. So those, it's basically for those people, for those yogis. They are also punya work. It's not that they are prohibited work, they are punya work and they gain punya. So when, and this path is basically for those people, and this is a path of darkness. It's a symbol of ignorance because they have not got the knowledge. So they are also subjected to rebirths. In this path, what happens? All the gods of darkness are there. जैसे ये कृष्ण पक्ष का जो पीरियड होता है, एंड सूर्य के दक्षिणायन का, when sun travels southwards. So during that period is called a path of darkness. That's the second path. So this represents the path of ignorance. इस path के अंदर अंधेरा है, कृष्ण पक्ष का path है ये. और दक्षिणायन, जब सूर्य दक्षिणायन को ट्रेवल करता है, दक्षिण बेसिकली नीचे की तरफ होता है. So you are going to the lower worlds basically. So this is how here it has been described. So these yogis who take this path, they go up to Chandralok. एक चंद्रलोक है जहां पर they enjoy the fruits of all their pious deeds, whatever they have done, and once their punya is over, then they return back to the earth again. This is the second path. So now in verse 26, Bhagavan concludes these two paths. He just gives a conclusion that both these paths, one is Shukla Paksh path and second is the Krishna Paksh path. There is a path of light and the path of darkness. These two paths have been existing in this universe since eternity. They are also basically Sanatan. So path of light leads to liberation, while the path of darkness leads to rebirth. So in brief, I mean, if I just describe these two paths again, so those yogis who are detached from sensuous pleasures and whose mind is focused on Bhagavan, those yogis who have got Brahmgyan or are got the Atmagyan or in the last stage of getting Brahmgyan, they, after giving up this body, they follow this path of light and attain Brahmaloka, where they enjoy all the pleasures, live there for some time. And Brahmaloka, they get the Gyan by the grace of God there. And then from there, they go to the Supreme Abode and they don't return back to this earth, to this world. Then जो अंधकार का मार्ग है, that is अज्ञानता का प्रतीक है. Those yogis who perform religious rituals or other activities for fulfillment of their desires, they go to the path of by the path of darkness after leaving this body. They go to heavenly resorts called Chandraloka, and from there they enjoy these pleasures and return back. So this is in brief these two paths. Now nobody has a choice over these two paths. One cannot choose which path I have to follow. It all depends upon your karmas. Your karmas will determine which path you will go. Your soul will go to this which path. So that's why basically you have to always remain engaged in selfless work, in karma yoga. Only then you will be able to see which path you can choose. So this is the basic, teaching what Lord Krishna has given to Arjuna, that ultimately you have to continue your life, you lead your life of a pious life, life of karma yoga, life of devotion. Only then you will be able to get liberation. That's basically the principle what has been described. So now in verse 27, Bhagavan says that those yogis, those who know the secret of these two paths, those who know this whole knowledge of the Brahmalok, their duration, and these two paths, they never get confused. Because they know that going to heaven does not mean moksha. They know that moksha can be achieved only by jnana, only by devotion, and this knowledge can be obtained only in this world, in human form. So that is why Shri Krishna says, har samay, nitya yukta, always be my devotee. योग में स्थित रहो always, और ज्ञान प्राप्त करने के लिए साधन करते रहो. This is what Lord Krishna has said. Sarveshu kaleshu bhav yoga yukta. Be always in yoga. That is the term used in verse 27. Be always in yoga. अब क्या होता है कि हमारे लिए जो most of the people, we don't follow it always. Of course, sometime like we are sitting over here, our mind is now focused on this, listening to this, whatever I am telling you. So that we will listen to this for some time. And then we again go back, and then we again come into this materialistic world, start thinking about that. And sometime again we will start doing this. So this way, basically, one cannot reach the final goal of liberation. It is like, suppose you are traveling northwards at certain speed, you travel some kilometers, and after some time you start driving in the opposite direction. And ultimately you will reach the same point where you started. So same thing is in the lifestyle. If we go on oscillating between these two sides, we start completely involved, completely absorbed in the worldly activities without even remembering God. And in between, we find some time and we pray, we go to mandir, or we do some puja for some time, 5 minutes or 10 minutes, and we again start doing the same type of things. So, but that needs a lot of practice. So you have to do your all, even if say you go to worldly activities, but do those worldly activities also keeping the God in your mind. That's the message what Lord Krishna has given over here, that your mind should always be focused upon God. Always remember that God is within us. God is always with me. He is watching me all the time. You can fool everybody, but you can't fool God. So that should be the concept of living a life. And that's why I say the Gita is an art of living, not a philosophy. So that's very, very important, that you can do all your worldly activities, but keep the God in mind. Once you keep that God always in front of you, you will not do any evil deeds. You will always do the right work as per the dharma. So this is what the message has been given in verse 27. Then the last verse is 28 of this chapter. So Lord Krishna has answered all the 7 questions of Arjuna. So he concludes this chapter by describing that Brahma Gyan is the most superior thing. He says that yogi who knows all the secret. So whatever secret has been told in this chapter 18 so far, all this that हम लोग और वो कितने उसकी duration है, all this is a secret. It's very difficult to understand that. Even if, say, I have explained to you, but I'm sure it will not be coming into your mind immediately. You will have to do a lot of thinking and a lot of pondering over it. So, but who knows this secret very clearly, they get the highest virtuous results, which are much more than the merits of obtaining even by studying the Vedas or performing any Vedic ritual or performing any penances or charity, etc. So this Gyan, Brahma Gyan, is the most superior of all the knowledge. And once you gain that knowledge, you attain my highest, ultimate, supreme abode. So ब्रह्म ही एकमात्र सत्य है, और जो इस रहस्य को भली प्रकार से जान लेता है वही भगवान को प्राप्त करता है, वही परम धाम में जाता है, जहाँ से उसको वापस लौटकर नहीं आना पड़ता। तो ये मैसेज चैप्टर 18 में दिया गया है। और अभी आगे we will continue now on chapter 9. Chapter 9 will pick up the subject from here. If you see the whole of Gita, when any chapter ends, the topic for the next chapter is already mentioned in the last verse of that chapter, except when the chapter 7 started, because first 6 chapters is talking about Tvam, about you, about soul, about Atma. Then 7th chapter, the topic changed. There was no reference to the 6th chapter. So this topic will continue, topic of Bhagavan, that Tat Pad, will continue till chapter 18. Chapter 12. And then from 13 onwards, the third Pad will start, will be again a different topic. So we will continue in our next session from chapter 9. So in chapter 8, this is what I have to say. And I close from here. And thank you very much for listening to me. Be patient. And we look forward. I know there will be a lot of questions on this issue. So we open it for question and answer. Rakesh ji, for you.
Thank you very much, Bridji. It has been a absorbing session today. You knew it, that it is going to be absorbing as per your last comments, because a lot of imagination is required to really understand it.
Yeah.
So believe me, I was lost. So once you are lost, a lot of questions will come, and today we'll change little sequence of questions. Our new friend Kalyani is here, so I think we start with him and go to Sushil Bhai and then to the regular attendees. So Kalyani ji, अगर आप कुछ बातचीत करना चाहें ब्रिज जी के साथ या हमारे दूसरे जो अटेंडीज हैं, जो उपस्थित लोग हैं, तो हमें बड़ा अच्छा लगेगा.
Yeah, Namaskar ji. Actually, I'm from Hyderabad. I reside in Hyderabad. And this was very interesting because when I was talking to Pauja ji and I said I'm interested in this topic, he immediately shared this. And I'm very, very glad that I have joined the session. As you said, yeah, even I got lost somewhere. It is a very deep and a vast and a deep subject, but the essence of it was very, very clearly explained. And I think to me, what my takeaway of today would be, would be how to conduct our life. It is so important and so well put. What is important? So I think from the stage where we are all having retired. Each one we are following a spiritual path of our own. We have been initiated. We have our mantra. We are doing a mantra. But whether we go from to Sakar to Nirakar, there is no other way. We have to go from the form to the formlessness only if we have to attain that, having known that. But hearing it in a very systematic way with how do I put it, with good authenticity. With authenticity, when you hear it, it gives us more, the impetus that yes, this is the way forward. And I think Ananya Bhakti, while Bhakti is going to be what is going to take us forward. Ananya Bhakti, Ananya Nishta, I think that is the crux of what I taken today. From many other things, I have just picked up one for the sake of informing or for the sake of discussion. But yeah, I have a pen and paper and I did jot down a few points. They were so interesting. When I go back and do my reading once again, I think next time I'll come up with many more points. I'll do a little homework and then come the next time for sure. And thank you so much for allowing me to join your group. So thank you. Genuinely, I thank you so much.
Thank you, Kalyani ji.
Thank you, Kalyani ji.
Ahuja ji had mentioned to me, in fact, that he did mention to me that Kalyani ji wants to join this. I said, most welcome. And you are also, I think, I mean, translating the Gita, etc., in different languages. That's what he told me.
Yes, my